Hakarongo mai ki te reo e tangi nei, e ringihia mai ana, mai aku ka mo i ngā roi mātai. Whiti mai te rā, ngaro ana te mamai, ngaro roa te pauuri. Kaua e mauiwi, anei anō hera. Maranga mai e te iwi, o ngā hapu ngā puhi. Kia mo, kia u, kia pupuri ai, i ngā akorangai. Tēnā koutou ki ngā iwi e hakarongo mai ki ngā reo ki konei. I ngā iwi tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. It's a rare privilege, I think, that I have the opportunity to greet you from my home, which is located in the hills above Salt Lake City, and especially that you're able to see what influences my life in some ways. I share this home with my brother, who's an American Indian artist, and you might be able to see that I'm surrounded by some of our art. Our art is important to us because that's what helps us maintain balance in our lives. You know, and balancing our lives is a real, saying the word again, balancing act, right? Because we have to balance our work. We have full-time employment besides our art. We also have to balance our interests, our wants, and our needs. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about balance. I believe, and I could be wrong, that those of us who have a commitment to community-engaged research perhaps don't think about how balance is really central to what we do, right? Because one of the things that we have to do is balance the rigors of research with the real needs of communities. This balance, I believe, is really the spirit of community-engaged research. I think that as I've learned about community-engaged research, and especially by attending the conference last year, which, by the way, I was part of quite a large contingent from the University of Utah and Utah communities, I began to see how this sense, the spirit of balance, has very much been a part of our agenda. You know, Community of Faces of Utah, which is what we represent, started about 9 years ago with a grant from the Center for Clinical and Translational Sciences. It was actually a project on genetics, and from the get-go I had a problem with the word genetics because that doesn't fit well with Native communities that I work with, and I should mention that both my brother and I work at the Urban Indian Center of Salt Lake. Doesn't fit well with them. It doesn't fit well also with my Māori traditions. See, I'm a member of the Ngāpuhi Iwi from the Taitokero district of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and the song that I greeted you with is actually our anthem. So words that come to us from Western academia don't kind of feel comfortable with us, the concept of genetics being one of them. So we came up with a term that feels more comfortable with us, and we call that inherited health. Now, I believe in my experience with Community Faces of Utah that we have tried to exemplify the spirit of balance. In fact, we think that we have kind of like blurred the lines between the researcher and the researched, or the academics and communities. And so that as we come together, and we've got quite a collection in Community Faces of Utah, we do so in the spirit of oneness. We're one community, but we are many communities. And that's sort of the message that I'd like to talk about. We call that congruency, where we can still walk on the same path, but we go with our same values. And these values, whether they be from academia or from communities, need to be honored and respected. And I think we've accomplished that. So we have an interesting group of people when Community Faces sits around the same table. We have an assistant vice president, we have a division chair, or division chief might be the appropriate word. We have a director of an academic program. We have community executive directors and directors. We have professors, PhDs, MDs, MAs, MSCs, community wellness coaches. We have a state epidemiologist and even a Martin Luther King Human Rights Commissioner and a pastor. We have 5 health disparity communities that are represented. We have African Americans, American Indians and Alaska Natives, African refugees, Hispanics and Latinos, Pacific Islanders, and an artist. But when you sit around the table, it's very difficult to tell who's who. We all wear many hats. And so as we come together, there's this sense of equality. In fact, Pastor Davis always says that when you come into our Community Faces of Utah meeting, you leave your egos behind at the door. He doesn't know that I kind of keep mine in my pocket from time to time, right? But we do have separate values. And the concept of those values all coming together and being respected really is at the heart of congruency. We are one group, one community, but we are also many communities. And I don't think any of us really feel like we have to compromise our positions when we come into our meetings. You know, several of the people in our group come from the University of Utah. And, you know, I wish some of you could see where it's located. I remember when I first saw it, you know, it just sprawls over the lower mountains, actually the hills above Salt Lake City. And it has this position of prominence, but it looks across this valley, and from certain vantage points at the University of Utah, you can see both the mountains on the west side and also you can see the Great Salt Lake. It's a spectacular location. And the thing that's important is that, you know, when our people from the University of Utah who are members of our group come to meet, they come down to our spaces. They come into our buildings. Now, occasionally we have to go up there because I think sometimes it's easier for them to tell their colleagues about communities if the communities themselves come up, and we don't mind that. We even have community members on some of the advisories, especially in the Division of Public Health. So the University of Utah, which I might add is TIN, or a Trial Innovations Network Center, and a hub, and it helps when the people from the university come down to us and we come from our community. It creates this good energy that I think is alive and well in Utah. We're kind of hoping that sometime in the near future that the community engaged research group might come here and meet, because then, even if just for a moment, they would become part of our community. Being part of the organizing committee for this conference, I'm well aware of some of the wonderful things that you're going to be a part of over this next day and a half. And I regret that I can't be with you. On the other hand, I'm on vacation in Hawaii. And it is still my pleasure to be able to greet you on behalf of the community groups that are here today and wish you all the best. Welcome, welcome, welcome.